Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me back. Ooh, I feel very loud. Am I loud? No, okay. It's in my, I can just echoing in my ears. So Ashley McIntyre, for those of you that haven't met me, but I see a lot of very familiar faces. So glad to see you guys again. So today's presentation is a little bit different. It's around a healthy way to survive the holidays and how to navigate the holidays with joy. So what do you think of when I say that?
Eating.
Eating. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about food. While I'm a nutritionist, I'm also a health coach. And so when I work with clients, I don't just talk to them about what they eat, and what foods to really eat more of or less of. It's more it's talking about that, but it's also talking about lifestyle and like the choices we make, our thoughts, our stress management tools, and all of that stuff. So we're going to talk a lot about lifestyle today. Because you brought up eating, does anyone want to take a wild guess at how much the average person gains between Thanksgiving and New Year's? 5 pounds? I would have guessed that too. It's actually 0.8 pounds. So it's really not that much. It's that most people don't, what tends to happen for some people, I shouldn't say most, is that they just year after year, if they're gaining around a pound a year and they're not mitigating it afterwards, then over 30 years, you're gaining close to 30 pounds and it, adds up. But it's not that people are gaining 5 to 10 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Because I always tell my clients, it's not what you do a few weeks out of the year. It's what you do like the other 48 weeks out of the year. So we're going to talk a lot about lifestyle changes and lifestyle things to support our holidays and a little bit about food at the end. So again, we're going to talk about prioritizing our health, how to support our energy levels. I'll go over my quick nutrition principles again and some healthy snacks and tips for success with holiday drinks along the way as well. So I'd like to talk about how we can promote and make health during the holidays a priority. So it's something that we're thinking about and we're making the purposeful choice of. So we're going to talk more about this on the following slides, but bringing mindful eating into practice. And removing distractions like reading our phone or watching TV while we eat so that we can actually enjoy the food that's in front of us, whether it's a salad with grilled chicken or whether you're really, taking part in the holiday and you're, delving into your favorite holiday dish of sweet potato casserole or whatever that can be for you. But if you're not mindful, you're going to miss the experience of it. And then talking about stress management techniques and what those can look like. This can be a stressful time of year for many reasons. If your to-do list is extra long, or if you have family stress or whatever it is, this tends to be a very stressful time for a lot of people, including myself and a lot of my clients. We're going to talk about movement and making sure we're supporting our movement during this time and making that a priority. And then sleep, and I forgot to put it on here, but stress as well. So I put up here 4-7-8 breathing under stress management because it's pretty awesome. I don't know if you guys have heard of the 4-7-8 breathing method. Are you familiar? Yeah. So Dr. Weil, he is the founder of the integrative medicine. He actually has a great YouTube video if you just want to Google it, but Dr. Weil, and it's 4-7-8. So you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold it for 7 counts, and then you breathe out for 8. And this type of breathing, after you do 3 or 4 rounds of it, can really bring down anxiety and stress, and it's been proven. And like I said, he has a very short YouTube video, so I would recommend anyone listen to it, and it's something that he can guide you through it a little bit, but you don't need to play it every time you want to do it. If you find yourself, getting in a stressful situation or you're going to bed at night and your, list of things to do is just Rolodexing through your head. If you can breathe in for 4 counts, hold it for 7, and then breathe out for 8, you'll really find that it's very calming, can soothe some of those stress and worries. So again, while I focus on food a lot with clients, I do focus on a lot of these different techniques to help support my clients because, it's just important to be able to be well-rounded in our lifestyles and our choices. So this is something from the Intuitive Eating Workbook. It's by Evelyn Tripoli. And I've tried to summarize what she says in her workbook, and I don't do a great job of it. So forgive me, I'm going to read this paragraph because I think it's really impactful for how we, choose to eat mindfully. Has anyone ever heard of mindful eating, or have you ever heard of this book? What do you guys think when you think of mindful eating? No?
Well, being aware of nutrition, and how it affects your body, what you're taking in,
Yeah.
and making the right choices.
Well, making the right choices, but also just really wanting to be to experience what you're actually, yeah, exactly. So from the workbook, it actually says eating while engaged in another activity is much like distracted driving. So I'm sure we've all seen those people on the road. The driver has the illusion that he or she can drive while texting, but they can't. So distracted eating is no different. You might have the impression that you're aware of what you're putting in your mouth while reading the news or responding to an email, but you are truly missing out on the sensory aspects of eating. So although you have the ability to multitask, we all do, your mind can truly only pay attention to one thing at a time, like a camera lens. So consequently, if you are preoccupied with doing other activities while eating, not only will your enjoyment of the meal actually be diminished, it is also likely that you will not sense your fullness until you discover you are too full and that you ate more than you needed. Or you might discover that you feel full, but because you didn't actually experience all the pleasures of eating the meal, you may still have a profound desire to continue eating to experience those joys. So I always share this with my clients. I love dark chocolate, and I will frequently have a little square of dark chocolate after lunch. But if I take that piece of dark chocolate and I go sit at my computer to finish up some emails and whatever, because I finished my lunch, frequently I'll go to reach for it, it's gone. I've eaten it. I don't remember eating it, but it's not there anymore. So that's what I, always share with clients, you're really not going to get to experience whatever that lovely dish is that you're, choosing over the holidays, and you're going to miss out on it. So I really appreciate her workbook and the intuitive eating, the way that she describes it and compares it with distracted driving. So another thing that I encourage clients to do is to really practice gratitude, which this time of year is a great time to do that. Does anyone currently have a gratitude practice or something they try to do on a daily basis? Sometimes. So focusing on appreciating not only our foods, but our time spent with our loved ones around the holidays can make them way more enjoyable. So, when we have this how do I say it, this mindset full gratefulness, and we're looking for positive things, and we're thinking about all the positive things in our life, it kind of mutes all the things that may be stressful around this time of year. So I often suggest to clients, maybe write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. And it seems really silly because at the beginning you'll be like, I'm grateful for my health and my family and my dog or something. But I always tell them they can't repeat them. So what ends up happening is after a week or 2, you have to get really specific on what you're grateful for that day, right? Because you've already said you're grateful for your family, so you can't say it again. So it might be I am so grateful that I have a flexible job, while my kid's homesick, that I can actually, be able to be home with them. I have a sick kid at home right now. That's why that comes to mind. But so it's a great way to really appreciate the things and bring stress levels down. Something else that can be really beneficial is using mantras. So if you do have a meditation practice or you're looking for one, I find this is the easiest way for my clients to introduce stuff into their routine and actually enjoy it. I personally can only meditate if I have a mantra or somebody repeating one to me. So being able to say things like, I'm grateful for the present moment just as it is, and you would repeat that over and over in your head for just a few minutes. Or I am thankful for the love and connection in my life, or you can come up with your own. You can also Google, there's many mantras, and you can either use the same one or change it up, but that's another way to introduce meditation in an easy format. And I also highly recommend the 4-7-8 breathing, because that's something that I've done even before bed at night if you're super stressed and you have lots, or even if you're not stressed, if you just have a long to-do list and you can't seem to turn your brain off. It doesn't even have to be stressful. It just helps to kind of decompress and put you in a state of relaxation. So this next slide is something I've recently been introduced to, and I love it. It's called the Emotional Guidance Scale. This is not my scale. You can Google it. It's very hard to see the small words. I apologize, but the concept is there is on the left side an upward spiral. So think of like, it's like the opposite of, no, think of a tornado, because they kind of go in that cone-like shape. So you're going on an upward spiral, and the right side is your downward spiral. So if we can think of an upward spiral in terms of our energy and positivity, and, the bottom really starts with contentment, goes to hopefulness, optimism, and at the top of the upward spiral is like love, joy, and appreciation. So that like gratitude that we just spoke about. And then your downward spiral is like you're just spiraling out of control. It goes from boredom to pessimism to frustration. You have worry, doubt, discouragement. And so, we've all been through those periods of times in our life where we have that downward spiral. And if we can really acknowledge that in our head and be able to say, well, how can we shift this around? And that's kind of where I feel like the gratitude piece every day can really help us climb that upward spiral. So, if you find this is something that would be beneficial for you, I would really recommend to Google it. I know these words are really small, but the concept is you always want to try to be on an upward spiral. So the next one is to stay moving. So moving throughout the day, does anyone know why it can be beneficial to move after a meal? Digestion, for sure. Anything else? It can really help with our blood sugar, which we've talked about a lot here in managing our blood sugar, right? So when we eat, no matter what we eat, we're going to have some glucose that goes into our bloodstream. And if we are consuming a lovely holiday meal that might have a little extra glucose than we're used to having, we're going to have that blood sugar spike. And to quickly mitigate that, if you do any type of movement, whether it's a walk, a couple squats, whatever it is, whatever works for you, the body is going to push out insulin, and it's going to shuttle all that glucose into your muscles. So it's going to bring that glucose spike down. And remember, when we have those high glucose spikes, that actually causes inflammation at a cellular level. So anything you can do to move after a meal is great, especially those meals that are later in the day, because we tend to be sedentary after dinner, and if we're having, some sort of dessert, any type of movement is key. And like I said, it can be short. They've even shown benefits of doing like 10 squats after a meal. So, but it also does aid in digestion, and movement isn't about being perfect or fitting into pant size. It's just something that is part of our lifestyle, right? So we're talking about lifestyle choices and things that can, increase our health and our lifespan. And I would encourage you to not focus on like, I have to work off XYZ calories because I had this meal. It's just something that you're doing because you're choosing to be healthy. It's not, you should enjoy the meal in and of itself, period. So, but it does encourage and lower those inflammation levels from the glucose spike, which is really important for mitigating those like lower levels of chronic inflammation that we can have. So sleep is so interesting, and it can be really difficult at different times in our lives, whether you're a woman and you're having hormonal changes, or again, stress can be a big piece that disrupts sleep. But when we don't have great sleep, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 nights, when we don't have great sleep chronically, it can really mess up our insulin dysregulation. Again, insulin is really important for us to get rid of that high glucose spike in our bloodstream, so then that messes up our metabolic system. It can disrupt our cortisol levels, so that's like our stress hormone again. And it can also disrupt our immune system. So this is the time of year, right, when people start getting sick, like my daughter. And so if we have like lack of sleep, it can really impair our body's immune system from being able to respond quickly and being able to defend us against some of those bacterial or viral invaders. And it can also disrupt our inflammatory markers in a negative way. So again, that chronic inflammation that, can build up over time. And I thought this statistic was really interesting. Around 40% of adults with insomnia have some type of psychiatric illness, most commonly depression. So there's lots of things that are linking back to sleep, and things that, lack of sleep for long periods of time is not beneficial for health. So we need to make sleep a priority, right? Is there anything that any of you do currently, either using like a sleep aid, or do you have a routine at night? Is there anything that works for anyone to get better sleep?
We try to go to bed at the same time. His is one time, mine's another, but we still try to go to bed
Yeah,
at the same time every night and take advantage of that body clock thing.
for sure. For sure. And if even, keeping that every night of the week and not changing it, up unless it's a special occasion or something, can be really important. The other thing that can be really beneficial is if you can get that morning sunlight into your eyes first thing when you wake up. So instead of having your coffee and maybe watching the morning news, if the sun is rising or has already risen, just go outside for 2 or 3 minutes and just get the sunlight in your eyes. It's going to help set your circadian rhythm a little better. And same thing can actually be beneficial for watching the sunset or getting that sunset light into your eyes to help set your circadian rhythm. Is there anything else that you guys do that you feel is a good sleep hygiene routine or supportive?
Occasion that I can't fall asleep, I've looked at some apps of relaxation, and that's kind of a meditation.
Yeah.
I have done that when I really had trouble.
Definitely. And I usually recommend to clients, like you were saying, trying to go to bed at the same time every night, have a routine. So that you do the same thing every night. When you do things kind of like, I remember when I had like a baby, like a newborn baby, and you tried to do the exact same thing every night so that they would know sleep is coming and you should sleep through the night so I can sleep, right? So think it's the same thing no matter what age you are. Your body can get used to the same routine. So if you have dinner, you watch TV, you take a shower, you read a book, you go to bed, your body is getting adjusted to that and knows that's your routine. So whatever your routine is, if you keep it the same, it's going to kind of induce better sleep because your body knows what's coming next. The other thing that I usually recommend to clients, I call it the 3-2-1 method. So I suggest they stop eating about 3 hours before bed, if possible. It depends on your schedule and when you guys eat dinner. I recommend you stop drinking about 2 hours before bed. That doesn't mean you can't have a sip of water. We're talking like, don't drink more, a cup full of water right before bed. And that's primarily just so you don't wake up to have to use the restroom. And then I recommend stop screens about an hour before bed. And this is just because the blue light, for one, can really mess up your circadian rhythm that we just talked about, but also, depending on the type of screen you're watching, it can be really engaging to your brain, and it might be what's keeping you awake at night. If you really like to watch TV or to look at your phone at night, I usually recommend to clients to get some sort of blue light blocker glasses so it's not that blue light that's messing up your circadian rhythm. So those can be some supportive tips to help induce better sleep. There's so many different sleep wearables that you can use. I notice a lot of you have Apple Watches on. They do detect your sleep. So typically, any sleep efficiency below 85 is considered problematic. So if you're looking at some of the data on that, that can be, a reason that you might want to incorporate the 3-2-1 method into your like nightly routine. Any questions? No? So, oh, I feel like it skipped a slide. Maybe? It did. It skipped a slide. Okay, so I have a slide here on stress. I'm going to talk about it because I think it's really important. We've talked about stress management techniques, but to talk about why it's so important to, I guess, incorporate those stress management techniques into your lifestyle is that when our stress is increased, it can lead to depression. Also, it leads to increased cortisol production, which in turn leads to increased abdominal adiposity, like tissue on your, fat deposits on your abdomen. And that's really the fat that can long-term be bad if you're just collecting fat cells in your abdominal area. So while that's true, increasing stress can down the line increase adiposity around your abdominal area. The opposite is also true. So if we can decrease our stress, we're decreasing our depression levels, we're decreasing our cortisol levels, and therefore decreasing abdominal fat. It also affects eating behaviors. So when you're super stressed, you tend to eat very differently from when you're not. And I think we can all be a testament to that. In a previous life, I was a pharmaceutical rep. And I can remember, when the pharmaceutical companies went through lots of layoffs, and I went through 3 rounds of layoffs. I did make it through every round, in case you were wondering. But each round, I remember being in my kitchen, waiting for my phone call with a bag of potato chips. You know what I mean? So it really, that stress really impacts how we choose to eat food. And that's fine when it's just like you've got that little bout of it. We don't want that stress continually, because again, it kind of goes down the line and leads to, not as healthy of lifestyle choices. So if we can mitigate it by using some of those stress management techniques, we can really increase health span. So I'm sorry that slide didn't show up. I don't know what happened there. So we're going to get to a little bit of food now. So energy levels. So we talked about, blood sugar management. Does anyone know what happens? Kind of like, I always use the analogy of like Thanksgiving dinner when we eat a big meal or lots of sugary foods, like what happens to our energy levels and like why that happens, before and after. Yeah, your energy's gone, right? You're exhausted. So what ends up happening is that even if we're eating super healthy, but we're eating more food than we're used to, or we're just consuming lots of sugary food, it leads to these big spikes in our blood glucose, and then they crash. And when they crash, we crash. And that's when you need like the post-Thanksgiving nap, right? So anything that we can do, and we've talked a lot about it in my talks, to kind of keep those energy levels even keel and more of a rolling hill instead of like these spikes and valleys, will keep our energy levels like even throughout the holiday season. So I feel like I show this slide every time, but for anyone that's new, this is just my nutrition principles for being able to have even energy throughout the day, and to really have balanced blood sugar is eating the critical 4. So you want to keep protein, fat, and fiber at the forefront. And when you put in a lot of color, you'll get all those micronutrients into your diet as well. So those are the things that you can do to really support your balanced energy levels around the holidays. So we'll talk about a few healthy snacks that you can throw in. I always say, it's not my saying, but somebody said, if you don't plan, then plan to fail. I think it's something like that. So if you make a plan, then, at least you have something solid to go off of. And if you don't, like, if you have no idea what you're having, for lunch this afternoon, or not even the slightest idea, or a snack or whatever, then you're probably going to reach for the easiest thing, and it may or may not be what's going to support you nutritionally. So things to have on hand, like nuts and seeds, almonds are great. Lots of studies have shown that almonds are really beneficial for brain health as well. Having like veggies and hummus, like a bunch of it, you kind of make a charcuterie board, but instead of meats and cheese, kind of use a lot of fruits and vegetables and make it colorful. Pair apples and with nut butter, or Greek yogurt with some honey and cinnamon. And then I have shared this slide before, but this is the one that's pretty in-depth in terms of having, healthy snack ideas on hand, and just to kind of stock your pantry. So it just will give you some extra ideas. Beef jerky is a great one because it's really high in protein. I know a lot of people really tend to love popcorn because you can get a big bowl of popcorn and it's only like 120 calories. One of my favorite popcorn brands, it's called Lesser Evil, and the reason I love it is that it uses coconut and avocado oil instead of some of the seed oils. And the flavor is really, really good. But it's called Lesser Evil, and it's just at Publix, or I think you can get it at Target too. But having things on hand that you can kind of pair to create that critical four, so that we're having balanced blood sugar, is a great idea. Additionally, holidays there's always holiday drinks when we go anywhere, whether it's here or you're going to a holiday party or you're having, friends to your house. And it's easy for me to say water is the best option to stay hydrated. But there's lots of other ideas, like having herbal teas on hand to have at the end of the evening, like peppermint can be great, especially if you have a cough or something, or ginger and chamomile. Or mixing like sparkling water with either some lemon, or you can even put like some cranberry juice and some lime in with it to make it a little festive for the holidays. If you're choosing to drink alcohol, just choose some like lighter options, like maybe a wine spritzer, so it's a little more hydrating. Alcohol can really kind of inhibit our ability to make healthy choices too. So, and avoiding any of like the really sugary drinks will, again, keep those blood sugars balanced. Does anyone have like a favorite holiday drink that they want to share? No? It's all what? Eggnog has never been my favorite. With bourbon, of course. My husband loves it, but it's just never. It's not even. It's just the taste of it. I don't know.
We used to, when I had the whole family home, I always had a holiday punch that the kids would get into. But it was really pretty kind of heavy on the cranberry, and it had fresh cranberries in the
Ooh.
punch, which they would crunch on.
Yeah.
But they really loved that. It had a little strawberry flavoring, I think, and apple juice and stuff. But it was a lot of cranberry. They really liked that.
We'll see, fiber and cranberries.
But there was sugar in there.
Oh, a little bit. But so that's what I'm talking about. So that's like one of those nostalgia things. So, there's no harm and there's more joy if you can really, make the drink and remember the kids that were, enjoying it, and you have it once or twice, and it's not something that you're doing all throughout the year. Again, it's 4 weeks out of the year doesn't make you unhealthy. It's the other 48 for real. So my next slide, I knew it was in there somewhere. So there was my stress slide. But you can look at it. I already went through everything, but just decreasing stress can, as increasing stress can lead to abdominal fat, decreasing stress can help mitigate that abdominal fat too. Sorry about that. But tips for success, don't skip meals. So if you're, planning on going out to dinner with, friends, or that you're going over to somebody's house, maybe have a lighter lunch, but I wouldn't skip the lunch because it's going to inhibit you from making those positive choices later. And if you can focus on vegetables, prioritize protein, and then choose those like healthy fats, that's what's going to keep your blood sugar really stable. And being able to avoid like the super sugary foods or eat them at the end. Because if you eat the sugary stuff first, your blood sugar is going to go straight up. Whereas if you eat that balanced meal first, you're going to have a little bit of a lower spike in your blood sugar. So definitely stay hydrated. And can anyone guess what I mean by BYOF? Yes. So I always, this is kind of my tip. I always bring something to where I'm going that I know that like, that is like something healthy and hearty that I could eat. And then I can, doesn't matter what else is at the party, at least there's something that I know that is healthy and delicious and that I can share with everybody, right? So I always say bring your own food, make sure, you plan so that you can be successful. So what other questions do you have for me about being healthy around the holidays? Did you guys like any of the tips?
I'd like to know what the definition of stress.
I don't know what the definition of stress is.
Well, in terms of what you're talking about.
So there's lots of different levels of stress. What I mean by stress is, for this talk, I'm specifically talking about like all the stress that comes up at the holidays. Like I got to buy a gift for so-and-so. There's this event that I have to go to, and I got to get my Christmas cards out or whatever your to-do list is. It tends to be that around the holidays, people's stress levels go up. But in general, it can be a lot of different things. Like stress can be stress level at a cellular level. So that's why I talk a lot about mitigating our blood sugar spikes, because at a cellular level, it causes stress and inflammation on our cells when we have these peaks and valleys. We want to have like rolling hills if you were to look at like a continual glucose monitor of sorts. But so stress, for this particular talk was really holiday related stress, but it can be, that constant worry in your head. Like, I guess the question you should ask yourself is, are you on an upward spiral or are you on a downward spiral? That's a great way to visualize it. And if you're on a downward spiral, you've got a lot of worry and stress and things going on. How can you kind of flip the script and kind of, have a little more gratitude and see if you can go up the spiral? So I really encourage you guys to look up that, why am I blanking on the name of it? I totally agree. It's called the Emotional Guidance Scale. So I'm sorry, I apologize that the words were so small, but there's a lot of different variations of it if you just Google it, but you'll actually be able to see the words. And that's something you could print out and kind of like look at. And I think that might be a good way to gauge your stress level, is to ask yourself, am I on an upward spiral or if I'm on a downward spiral? Good question, though. Any other questions or tips how I can support you guys through the holidays?
Well, it's interesting you talk about inflammation, because that is the source of disease. And so if we keep that in mind, that's a good reason to try to control our eating patterns.
Correct. And even, the reason I talk about mindfulness and all of that is that if you're choosing to enjoy that lovely punch that has sugar in it, don't be stressed about the sugar that's in it. Enjoy it and don't, scroll on your phone while you're drinking it and not even realize that you drank it, right? Really enjoy it and embrace it, because that's what, the holidays are all about, is really, being with family. So,
That hydration.
yeah.
Another definition, hydration, everybody thinks, not everybody, but most people think it's water. What other forms of hydration? In other words, I love, obviously you need water to live, but I like a little taste to the water.
Yeah, so that's where
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll put a little juice in there, but you gotta have a lot more water than the juice. That's what
Oh,
I'm trying to.
I like that. So I do talk to clients about, so water is important.
Too much sugar.
Um,
Getting from it. You are even on
yeah.
any juice. I mean, the taste is there, but if you have just a little.
What do you recommend?
I usually recommend clients will take some sort of fruit or citrus and put it in the water. So whether it's lemon or lime, oranges, you can do strawberries. My favorite that how foods and flavors remind you of certain things. Cucumbers remind me of the spa. So when I throw some cucumbers in water and put it in the fridge for like an hour, that just reminds me of spa, and it like takes me to that like zenful spot. But I usually recommend that they put something like that in the water that's not going to sweeten it, but a splash of juice isn't going to hurt you. It's just that you're consuming mostly water because the juice just has a lot of sugar in it. But also in terms of hydration, it's not just water, right? In order to get, in Florida, this time of year isn't bad, but in the summer when it's really hot, and we sweat just to walk to the car, it's making sure that we're getting those like minerals back in our water. So there's lots of different mineral supplements that are available, or just even adding. My favorite is Redmond Salt is the brand, and adding that into your water just because it has a really robust amount of various minerals in it that can help replenish that. It's called Redmond, Redmond, and you can just get it from Publix. I made the mistake when I was researching it. I thought I had to order it, and then I saw it at Publix the next week. And I paid for, it's just a salt. It's on the aisle with all the spices. My Publix had it on the bottom shelf. But I literally ordered it and paid for shipping. But if you go on their website, they have a recipe, but it's basically just a little bit of salt in a container with some fresh lemon that's squeezed, and that's like a great way to rehydrate. So for clients, instead of a Gatorade, I recommend doing something like that because that's going to replenish without the sugar, the minerals, and help kind of like as an electrolyte. Yeah.
Because filtered water, which is what we do, and but I have one system, it's a zero filter, but it takes out everything. But you need.
You have to, yes.
That's the problem, and so this is a good thing.
No, that is good for remineralizing and putting electrolytes back in the water, for sure.
What about adding like a diet cream to water?
So what I don't love about the diet drinks in general, no matter what diet drink it is that it usually has, sometimes it can have aspartame, which is shown to disrupt your microbiome. So if you have one, I would look for one that either has just monk fruit as the fake sweetener or stevia possibly. But the other ones have been proven to be pretty, not detrimental is kind of like a big word. It can really disrupt your microbiome. And, we've talked a lot about how gut health is so important for brain health and everything. So I would just be mindful of that. Sometimes I almost would just rather have sugar than a bunch of fake sugar because our body doesn't know what to do with it. That's the problem. It's like this foreign thing that we've created as humans. Exactly.
What about that Crystal Light?
No, that's bad.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Okay.
We all used to drink it. I was around for that. It's not terrible. It's just got a bunch of the like artificial sweeteners in it. Yeah. So I'd almost rather, like I said, in terms of those just putting in a splash of lemonade versus that has real sugar in it than some of the artificial stuff. Just a splash.
I've been making lemonade with stevia.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, for sure. And sparkling water is something if you like it, that can make it more just taste different. Even if you're still adding lemon to the sparkling water and you're adding lemon to regular water, it's just like a change of flavor. Like it almost makes you feel like you're drinking a soda, even though you're not. So, yeah. But since we're talking about hydration, I usually for clients, and it depends on the season, because sometimes in the summer I'll recommend more, but I usually recommend about half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh about 150 pounds, you would drink about 75 ounces of water a day. And that's just really supportive of, staying hydrated, making sure that we're having, daily bowel movements and everything like that. So, yeah. Any other questions that I?
Say stays hydrated, what is that?
So if you may not realize that you're dehydrated, like if you're somebody that drinks like 40 or 50 ounces a day, but if you weigh 150 pounds, and especially living in Florida, you're likely dehydrated and you just don't really even know it. And, again, at a cellular level, you want to make sure that your cells are hydrated and that they're supported. They can't function as well when the cells are dehydrated. And so, and that goes back to like using electrolytes or minerals to kind of support that as well, because water isn't, the only thing we need in terms of hydration. But usually those clients that are not drinking enough are also not having daily bowel movements, and that's something that we want. So if you're not having that, I would encourage you to talk to your doctor or nutritionist. I see clients a lot for that, but that's something that's important to be able to detoxify and get any toxins out of our body. So.
The salt,
Mhm.
you suggested, how much for 8 ounces of water, say? How much do you put?
I don't remember what they recommend on their website. I just kind of sprinkle a little bit in there, but the exact recipe is on their website. If you look up Redmond salt, they have like an actual recipe. But I would say like maybe a half a teaspoon, but I just kind of sprinkle some in there. I don't have like a rhyme or reason.
What are your thoughts on monk fruit?
I think it's one of the better artificial sweeteners, if you will. It's the most natural at this point. There have been some studies. I haven't noticed it personally because sometimes I'll check my blood glucose, like I'm wearing a glucose monitor right now just to kind of test things out because I'm always doing stuff like that. But there has been some studies that have shown that like monk fruit, stevia, and some of the artificial sweeteners like aspartame, even when you use those, for some people, they still cause blood sugar spikes. That wasn't the case with me personally, but everybody responds differently to food. Like if I eat a sweet potato versus you, our bodies are going to react differently. So working with your doctor, making sure your annual blood work and blood sugar levels are good.
How about honey for sweetener?
Yeah.
I know my husband's thinking, because if he has hot tea, he'll
Yeah.
have either honey or but he have monk fruit.
Yeah. I would say honey in moderation. Like you don't want 2 tablespoons in a thing of tea. But yeah, I would say honey is totally fine. Do you like 2 tablespoons?
The water.
Got it.
Well, lemonade you put in, which is okay, a little bit, but he puts more than he should.
That's funny.
But it is amazing how you don't realize how much, as far as the hydration, you're not drinking enough.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself, in certain days that I guess I'm just not drinking enough, you get tired. And I think maybe we all think our fatigue has to do with your disease or your this or that, and a lot of it is the
For sure.
hydration. And I think we don't really realize it.
Yeah, and if you can keep it even throughout the day and then stop those 2 hours before bedtime, because you can't really catch up right before bed, because then you'll be up all night and then you'll have bad sleep, and then it's like the cycle. So,
How about Rio? Herbal tea.
ribose? Is it ribose?
No, yeah. It's an African red tea.
I am not super familiar with it. If you're going to drink it at night, just make sure no caffeine. But I apologize, I'm not super familiar with that. Yeah, I'm sure if it's an herbal tea, I'm sure it's a great, teas in general tend to be really beneficial for health. I would, as long as there's no caffeine if you're having it at night, but otherwise, yeah, I think it should be fine. I apologize, I don't know much about that particular tea. So, any other questions? I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. You guys are so fun.
Yeah.